Okay, in this lesson, we're going to be looking at some general text layout and just some text information and layout regarding magazine covers in specifics. What you'll notice is this magazine cover, it's not complete, but I want to focus on the text here and the layout and some of the design elements as well as the magazine cover. I think you'd agree that this looks nicer than its alternative before you've had any altering done. So I'd like to kind of make this into this guy here. So first of all, you want to have a limited number of texts. So you want to have probably two different types of font for your articles. You may have a third type for your main magazine title. So you'll notice here I've got two different fonts. So this font here I believe is called Quicksilver. This font here is called Rounded Elegance. This is Quicksilver. This is Quicksilver, and this up here is called Abstract Groovy. So your magazine title might have a different one, but no more than that many fonts for the most part. So the other thing you want to know is before you start typing, know the articles and know what the important parts are. So you'll notice here that 2021 is a major part, boards is a bigger part, and this is smaller. So you'll notice Whistler is bigger. You also want to accent the more important articles and then deal with some different color schemes and all of those sorts of things. So where you would start is just by typing. So I've already done all the typing, but you want to be aware of the fact that if you had 2021 boards of the year and you want those to be in separate lines, like you'll see here, you actually want to type them separately, and that's a big piece of information. So you would not want to, with your typing tool, just click and type 2021 boards of the year. It's much more difficult to manipulate then. So you do it separately. So you pull out your typing tool, and with your typing tool, you just click on the screen. I type 2021, then hit the check mark at the top, then boards, boards, hit the check mark at the top, and then of the year. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is how do we, and maybe I'll delete some of these really quickly just so you can kind of see what's going on here. Okay. Next step is how do we implement fonts. So the fonts you can implement, and I suggest using sans serif fonts, but the fonts you can implement by going to your typing tool and highlighting current text. So I'm going to make this my Quicksilver text. I kind of like that font. So I'm going to go ahead and find it. There's other ways of sorting through this, but here's Quicksilver. So that one's done. You can do the same with the variety of your text. Okay, so I'm just going to do that pretty quickly here for the most part. So there's Quicksilver, and maybe of the year I'll do in Quicksilver as well. Okay, so that's number one. Number two has to do with the sizing and the alignment. So in general, you want the more important stuff to be bigger. Now for this, you can use either your move tool or your, generally your move tool. So if you go to your move tool and the show transform controls are showing, that's the easiest way to resize your text. So you can kind of lay it out wherever you want it. Now, generally articles that are on the left-hand side are going to be left aligned, okay? Meaning, so here's the 2021. The boards, maybe I'll make a little bit bigger here. And of the year will be smaller. So that's kind of looking pretty sharp for the most part. Okay, we can take and move those if we want to, move them up or down or do a variety of things. But left alignment means that they'd be aligned, so the first part of each line would be aligned on some sort of guideline on the left, and the opposite's true on the right-hand side. So that's how to deal with sizing and alignment. I'd probably actually move these down a little bit, so I think I'll do that really quickly here. And finally is how to implement color and dealing with the different effects that you can add to these different pieces of font here. Okay, so we'll deal with that right now. So to change the color and the effects on there, so first of all, the color, if you go to the typing tool and you highlight, the color generally exists at the top here. Okay, now one thing that you can know about color is you might want to implement, you might want to implement some colors from existing images. So if you'd want to, you could highlight the text and go to the color picking tool. You could choose any color from here, but I'm actually going to match, I think, the teal color from his board. So if you go off the color picker, you can actually match colors. So there's the teal color from his board. Okay, so that's 2021 boards, and maybe I'll do the exact same thing for boards here. So I can go to the typing tool, and maybe I'll make that one white. I think a white would look good because snow is white. And finally, boards of the year, maybe I'll make white as well. Okay, and you can imagine doing the same thing. I won't show this for the other one, but doing the similar thing to make the Going Off Trail Beyond Whistler kind of look like this. You'll notice that I've added some shapes there, but I used a different font called Rounded Elegance in this case, but you can find fonts and download them on your own. So that's that piece, is implementing the colors. I actually have I think the opposite colors on the current one. So finally, to kind of edit your font, maybe I'll make this one the Abstract Groovy that I had mentioned before. So there's Abstract Groovy. Maybe I'll implement that same color right there. And there we go, and maybe resize it to kind of be the main article here. But you get the idea. Okay, there's a lot of things that I haven't done. But the last thing that I want to show you is dealing with adding shadows or different things around your text. So if you ever want to do that, because you want to make it pop, I'm noticing that this teal doesn't pop. If you go down to the bottom and you click on FX, this is where you can play with a lot of things. So if I go to FX, I generally choose blending options. It gives you all of the different things you can manipulate. So if you click on any of these, it will show you the current settings. So let me click on drop shadow, for example. Instantly you're noticing there's a nice shadow on the 2021. And what you can do here is deal with all of the properties of that. I could change the distance of my drop shadow. Okay, I could change the size of it, which makes it more spread out. I could increase the opacity to make it darker or make it lighter. I could change the angle of my shadow if I'd like to. So all of these things are things that you can manipulate if you'd like to. So that shadow, I'll show you another one called stroke and a few other things, but again, you should just play around with these. Inner glow is really, really cool. There's a variety of things, but let me really quickly on powder here show you the FX called stroke. So stroke is an outline, so I'm going to go to stroke here. And one of the features of stroke is inside versus outside. I find that an inside stroke doesn't really look good. It tends to go inwards. So I like outside stroke. You can also change the color. So you can change the color right here and maybe go to like the darker teal on his board. So that's kind of the outside color there. So I've implemented some colors. It really pops nicely. Maybe I could even put a drop shadow on there as well, which could look kind of cool. So that's kind of dealing with those pieces. So I haven't completely finished it. You'll notice that magazine here is off to the right. I made it nice and small and tucked it in here with the Quicksilver font, but you get the idea of font layout, adding fonts, manipulating text, and manipulating a variety of the effects on there with the layout as well. And please make sure you vary the sizes according to the articles.